Today, our focus turns to Rwanda, where a controversial deportation deal with the United States draws sharp criticism. Now, Amnesty International is warning of a looming human rights crisis, raising serious questions about the safety and protection of deported asylum seekers. Meanwhile, in Kenya, the landmark Disability Rights Act of 2025 offers hope for a more inclusive and accessible future. But will the country move beyond policy promises to deliver real transformative change? This is The Conversation. I'm Darshan Usman. Let's talk. Now, the U.S. has made a deal with Rwanda to send some migrants there, but human rights groups like Amnesty International warn that it could put people in danger. Reason being that Rwanda's system for protecting asylum seekers is not too strong, and there's worry that migrants won't be safe or even treated fairly at all. Now, at the same time, the U.S. has also looked at sending migrants to Libya, where many face abuse and violence. But that plan has been paused by U.S. courts over serious safety and legal concerns. These moves have sparked big questions about how migrants are treated and what responsibilities powerful countries have. Now, sending people to places where their lives might be at risk doesn't sit right with so many people. Should any country choose convenience over compassion when it comes to human lives? Today, I'm joined by Isa Sanusi, Country Director, Amnesty International, Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Sanusi.
Sorry. Thank you so much for having me this evening.
It's a pleasure. Now, Amnesty International has described deportations to, Libya as a violation of international law. Also, that's of human rights concerns when it comes to deportation, to Rwanda as well. Now, can you elaborate on which laws are being breached in this case?
Well, let me start by giving a background because people have to understand what is going on. Since Donald Trump came to power, he has been doing these outrageous moves to deport, because he has been boasting about deporting migrants, and that boasting has been going on, and he is trying to prove that he is a man of his own words. So Amnesty International is concerned not only about the deal itself, but the fact that the international law is ignored and not considered when doing it. And we are also concerned because that kind of deportation has now become a way. It's a populist move by President Trump. And it is completely against international law, because somebody who is seeking asylum, who left his own country and crossed international border, is worthy and deserves respect according to international law. He deserves protection, he deserves safety, and when he applied for asylum, there must be a process, and that process is very clear. And that process does not include handing him over to a country where that protection is not there. We are deeply concerned, not only because in the first place Donald Trump is violating international law, but the fact that Rwanda is not a good example of upholding and promoting human rights. And is completely ironic that somebody who is fleeing from danger, because those asylum seekers Donald Trump is trying to move to Rwanda, run away from danger, from conflicts, from discrimination, to escape with their lives. Therefore, handing them over to Rwanda is like handing a person who is wounded to a lion. Therefore, we believe that is completely against the international law. And Rwanda does not have the human rights safeguards to ensure that these people are treated fairly. And we also believe that there is a process of appeal, which is very important in every asylum process. When you apply for asylum and your application is rejected, there is a process through which you have to appeal that rejection. And that process is very clear. Unfortunately, no one can trust Rwanda to go through or to take through those processes in respect of human rights. Rwanda is a country where many people have been complaining and there are concerns about human rights in that country. Therefore, it's ironic and it is an attack on international law to of all countries consider taking people who are running away from danger in their own country to a country where other people are running away from because of repression and denial of fundamental human rights.
All right. Now, Mr. Sanusi, you did say that you believe Rwanda doesn't have enough safeguards. But how would you respond to the claims that Rwanda is a safe third world country for asylum seekers? This is suggested as, by a U.S. official.
Well, I think the U.S. officials that are talking about or saying these things, they don't know what Rwanda is. Maybe they are reading their own secret, but I don't think they know what Rwanda is. Now, let me take you back to 1 or 2 years ago when the United Kingdom tried to do a similar deal with Rwanda. And even at that time, we expressed grievous concerns about violation of human rights and the possibility of putting people who will be deported to Rwanda in danger. And our concerns became very legitimate because at the end of the day, that deal between the United Kingdom and Rwanda failed. It completely collapsed. And the new Labour government in the UK had to scrap it completely. Therefore, it shows, and this shows that even the deal that they are trying to do with the US is also going to completely be a failure because Rwanda is not a good example of human rights that you can take somebody to. And we believe that all these things are only done to demonize people who are running away from danger, whose countries have been afflicted by war and other conflicts, instead of listening to them, giving them protection, which our international law has provided for, putting them in harm's way by deporting them to countries where there are no clear and guaranteed safeguard of human rights is completely against the international law. And we hope that the US will suspend that plan. And the fact that even they are even talking of thinking of taking these asylum seekers and dumping them in Libya shows you that the whole thing has no bearing with reality, because Libya is a country where up to today there are allegations that people are even subjected to modern day slavery. Slavery as it was done during the transatlantic slave trade. People are sold in the market in Libya. Therefore, for somebody to be thinking of taking people who are running away from danger and seeking safety to a country where people are sold in the market in this day, I believe that that is an irony of itself that we have to be thinking about.
Okay, now speaking of Libya, we heard that the plan has actually been paused by the U.S. courts, over serious safety and legal concerns. So hopefully that will be done in the case of Rwanda as well. But then, what obligations do countries like the U.S. and other developed countries have under international law, especially when entering agreements with nations that have questionable human rights practices?
Well, in the first place, as a human rights organization, we believe that all these moves, are just populist moves, populist political actions, just to appeal to a certain segment of voters in their own country who believe that the reason why their country is having a problem is because there are migrants, there are asylum seekers. So it's just like shifting blame. Thinking that those people are a problem. They are not a problem. They were forced. No one leaves his home unless if that home is dangerous and is not safe for him.
Absolutely.
Therefore, I believe that the only way out is for all these countries that are doing these moves to stop them, suspend them, and scrap them, and do the right thing, provide protection to people who are running away from danger. There are so many ways of, screening these people to make sure that people have genuine concerns. For example, there are people from Sudan, where right now a very bloody civil war is going on. And there are people from countries like Eritrea, where there is no human rights completely in those kind of countries. And there are people from other parts of Africa where there is hunger, where there are diseases, where the governments are just hopeless and of no value to the people, and they have to seek safety. And this is not only peculiar to Africa, it's also peculiar to other countries in other continents. Therefore, there is no way we can solve any international problem by blaming people who are in danger, because they didn't create this problem. The problems that made them to seek asylum in the first place are not problems that they created by themselves. They are problems that they found themselves in, and they have no responsibility whatsoever towards creating those problems. Therefore, we believe that demonizing asylum seekers and people who are forced by conflict to leave their homes is unfortunate and unacceptable, and is not going to augur well for our world. Because when some people are in danger, some people who are in safety have to provide them with safeguard, and that is how the world should be.
All right, now, Mr. Sanusi, let's tilt a bit towards Libya. Just to provide a bit of context, Amnesty International, we know, has actually documented severe abuses in Libyan detention centers. For example, detainees have been subjected to beatings with electric cables and also denied medical care. Now, do you have an idea, and can you elaborate on some of these conditions in Libya?
Well, Libya, we have been receiving a lot of very disturbing stories from Libya, where people, especially because we deal mostly with people from Nigeria. But what is happening in Libya is very unfortunate, unacceptable, because up to now, people are being sold in the market, and people are being incarcerated, held in crowded jails without food, without electricity, and they kill them anytime they like. Even yesterday, we received a call for intervention from a Nigerian whose brother has been held in those kind of situations in Libya. The situation in Libya is a stain on the image of Africa. Absolutely. Because slave trade has been abandoned many decades, many years ago. It's part of the past, it's a history. Unfortunately, in this century, we are dealing with slavery on the continent of Africa, unfortunately. In the past, slaves are only taken and raided and taken out of Africa. But now it is in Africa that people are sold as slaves. And this is really a stain on the image of Africa. It's really unfortunate that the African Union and other relevant African international organizations could not do anything about this. And even countries where their citizens are held, because most of the people who go to Libya and found themselves in this kind of dangers, they will tell you that they go there because there are no opportunities in their countries, because they are seeking better life, and which is true and which is correct. Unfortunately, they found themselves in those situations, and the situation in Libya should be taken up as a serious matter. In fact, it deserved to be taken and addressed by the AU itself, not only Nigeria or other countries that are affected. The AU itself has to take up this matter and deal with it. Unfortunately, nothing is being done, and every day there are very bad reports coming out of Libya, and it's really a stain on the image of Africa and also on our humanity, to say that at this age and in this era, people are being sold as slaves, people are being killed because they go to a different country to seek better life.
Okay. Now, we've stated here that, deporting individuals to environments where they may face torture or inhumane treatment could violate international human rights obligations. But what are the legal ramifications for the U.S. if it proceeds with deportations, to Rwanda and especially Libya, even with all the, concerns and the challenges, considering these documented abuses?
Well, I believe that is why it's very good that the U.S. Judicial system is very strong, and it is good that the deal with Libya has been stopped by a court, and I hope that the one with Rwanda too will be stopped by another court, and that is why an independent judiciary is very important. But we know that populist politicians like Donald Trump and others always find something and hold on to it and use it to whip up sentiment and use it against people they don't like. And we believe that that should not be the politics of this era. That politics should be realistic, should be tangible, should be about the people.
Well, Mr. Sanusi, I actually asked that question because there have been reports of secretive deportation flights to Libya itself. Is there any evidence, are you aware, is there any evidence, that these deportation deals are being carried out in secrecy? Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us on the conversation. Now, just before the break, we were talking about how the U.S. has actually made a deal with Rwanda to send some asylum seekers or even migrants there. But human rights groups like Amnesty International, have actually warned that it could put people in danger because Rwanda's system for protecting asylum seekers is not that strong, even though the U.S. has actually called Rwanda a safe third world country. There's also worries that migrants will not be safe or even treated fairly. And at the same time, it was actually looking at sending migrants to Libya, where a lot of people faced abuse and violence. But thank God for the plan, that has been pushed or paused by the U.S. courts over the serious safety and legal concerns. So, these moves have actually sparked very, very big questions on how migrants are treated and what responsibilities countries like the U.S. and the like actually have when it comes to asylum seekers or even migrants. So many people have actually, shown concern that while the U.S. is trying to push people from other countries away from the U.S., or deport them back to their own countries, no matter the situation, they're bringing in migrants from South Africa, that's white South Africans or Afrikaners as they call them, into the U.S. with the hope that they are farmers. So we've had Isa Sanusi, the country director for Amnesty International, speaking with us. Thank you for staying with us, Mr. Sanusi. So, Mr. Sanusi, just before, we lost you there, I was asking, you can actually unmute your mic because I can't hear you. So, but then I was asking because there have been reports of secretive deportation flights to Libya, even though the courts have actually paused deportations to that particular country. So we want to know if you've heard of anything, if there's any evidence that these deportation deals are being carried out in secrecy.
Well, we have not yet had any verifiable evidence that that has taken place, but we are closely monitoring the situation, and we are closely monitoring not only deportations to Libya, but also deportations to El Salvador and other places. So we are watching this issue very closely, and we believe that it's a very great setback for international institutions, whereby people are being stigmatized by finding, just because they found themselves in a situation that they need to leave their homes. We believe that the international institutions have to come together and very strongly tell the United States of America that it is setting a bad example, because America is founded and founded on freedom. and justice. And it has always been a refuge for people running away from persecution, running away from war, running away from discrimination and other things. Therefore, it is unfortunate that we now have a politician in charge of the government of the United States who believe that politician who believe that he has to use the pain of other people to make a political point. We believe that this is not how the world should work. The weaker ones should be protected by the stronger ones. And people should always have a place where they can find safety, no matter their situation, no matter their origin or the countries they come from. So therefore, we should try as much as possible and focus. The nations of this world should focus on ensuring social justice, peace, and human rights, so that no one will even need an asylum. No one will apply for it. And we want an ideal situation in which the world will be safer and better than what it is now. Unfortunately, we have a situation whereby conflicts are increasing and crises are increasing, discrimination is increasing, social justice is escalating, social injustice, is escalating. And we have a situation whereby more and more people have been compelled by these pressing problems to leave their countries. And I believe that demonizing those people who have to run and live there, everything they have built, everything they are known for, everything they have known throughout their lives, to leave those things behind is not an easy decision to make. It's not something that is very, it's not something comfortable. It's not.
So what alternative approaches can the U.S. consider to address the migration challenges without necessarily compromising human rights?
Well, there are international standards for treating asylum seekers. There are international standards for treating refugees. Therefore, the U.S. knew those rules very well, knew those standards and procedures very well, and they should continue to use them. They should continue to implement them and respect them and uphold them, because U.S. is setting a very bad example for other countries. Therefore, that's the only way. Let us go back to the international law. Let us also respect and uphold international law by making sure that those who are running away from danger, from crisis, from war, should not be treated the way they are being treated now by the current government of the United States. The international law should apply, and people should find safety in countries like the U.S., not only U.S. and other places, instead of using their situation to make a very cheap political point.
All right. Now, let's have your final thoughts, and also, I know you did touch a bit on what Amnesty International is doing to monitor some of these deportations, but then what role can Amnesty International play in advocating for the rights of migrants affected by these deportation agreements?
Well, Amnesty International, as a human rights organization, we monitor people that are facing discrimination, facing danger. So every situation in this world, from Sudan to other countries like the Middle East, in Gaza, for example, especially, where people are facing displacement and other crises, we have been monitoring them, and we always advocate for a fair system based on international law that will protect the people. We believe that the world will be a better place if we respect international law and promote it. And we have to also bear in mind the fact that when people are seeking help, turning them back is something that is regrettable and should not be acceptable in the current world. And we believe that governments like the United States of America and even Britain that tried to bring asylum seekers or refugees or whatever to Rwanda 2 or 3 years ago should have a rethink. They should take out the issue of migrants from their political conversations and focus on how they will help other countries to be better, so that there will not be any need for anybody to go anywhere to seek for asylum. But when we are not paying attention to the problems that are causing these issues, that is why we are seeing what we are seeing today. People are running away to escape with their lives, and now they are being used as an item of political campaign, which is very unfortunate.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Isa Sanusi, Country Director, Amnesty International Nigeria, for your time and for speaking to us on this.